The protagonist begins by talking about the old walls of that place and the worn-out furniture. Some small insects pass by the fans. He envied those insects. He kills one and licks it, saying it's somewhat bitter. However, he spent his entire life in that basement. While writing, he says that when he manages to get out in this suffocating place, he will use these reflections his writing now. Normally in letters like this, people start by writing their name. However, he has never been called by the name he has, so he doesn't know what it is, but he is sure he must have one given by his mother. He was separated from her right after birth. However, he has this photo in his room of his mother holding him. Looking in her smile, he says he is sure she must have loved him. She is dead if that's what a guy with glasses says next to him. When the guy goes to repeat himself, he turns asking what he means by that. The guy with a sack-like chin says she died shortly after he was born, jumping off a bridge. The man keeps laughing while the protagonist does not react. This guy is actually his father, the cursed bastard who trapped him in this place. The man's plan is to never let him escape. The place is composed of several corridors and many doors, and all the keys to that place aren't his waist. The father tells him not to worry, that he will never see the outside. He asks if he doesn't remember why his mother jumped off the bridge. The boy does not respond if the man takes a cookie and moves it towards his face, saying, "She was scared." The world she lived in, or this land she knew in apocalypse, was coming. The boy continues to stare at his father, who warns that the reason he won't leave there is because he loves him. He doesn't want to see his son take his own life. The boy says it's a lie, it's impossible, she preferred to die than live in this so-called apocalypse. He tells him to stop lying about this apocalypse coming. The father says he can choose whether to believe it or not. He takes the notebook and warns that this letter he wrote will never see the light of day. The boy tells him to stop, but the father sets it on fire. Some time later, on top of the trash can, he says that this guy doesn't even deserve to be called a father. However, the guy smiles, saying that he can't say something like that since everything he's been doing is for his son. He warns that the time has come and tells him to follow. Walking through the corridors, the protagonist says it's at the same time every day. They pass through this place and he doesn't hear the sound of any other form of life. He and his father are the only inhabitants of this vast basement. The father starts writing things on the blackboard while the boy thinks it's the same routine every day. The same lessons and the same training. The only thing that keeps him surviving this tedious life is the little free time he gets every day to take a look at the library. Among the numerous books there, the ones he likes the most are those that have descriptions of the world outside. He wonders what this sunlight that all the books talk about is like. At least he believes it must be warmer than the light in that basement. He looks back and sees it field. With this, he imagines himself running in it, saying he wants to experience a peaceful day in life and see a beautiful scenery. He wants to be able to talk to other people and maybe even be friends with them. But the most important thing now is to escape from this place and give his father a good kick. The father closes the book and says he has already told him that he can only read it during his free time. Watching him, he says that looks like his son was reading a book about the surface and says he continues to be pathetic. Wanting to know if he still has some kind of connection to the outside world, the father reminds him that he will never leave this place. When the apocalypse comes, the world will be covered in blood and screams. Only ashes will remain, and this place is the only way to survive. The protagonist says that his father is lying again. He always says that an apocalypse is coming, and it's because of this absurd reason that he has been trapped there his whole life. He wants to escape from this place, no matter the cost. However, the time has not come yet. He has to wait for the perfect moment. The time when his father lets his guard down and becomes defenseless. Sometime later, in one of the other rooms, the protagonist is doing push-ups, struggling. The father says it's ridiculous. He's tired just because of this and he wouldn't survive the apocalypse like this. Saying it's ridiculous and he only did 10 with that small weight on his back. The protagonist's arm loses strength and he falls to the ground. The father approaches and offers his hand to help. He stays silent for a second, confused. Awkwardly, he asks his father why he is being helped. However, as soon as he takes his hand, the father pulls him and says he never said he would help. He sweeps his legs, making the boy roll and hit his back against the glass. The father explains once again that anyone who reaches out of hand to help cannot be trusted. In the apocalypse, humans are the most dangerous things, and that's why he's been training him and teaching him combat techniques. It will be inevitable that he encounters other humans, and when that happens, he must be strong enough to win with clean hands. However, he realizes that his son has fainted and turns away, saying the day is over. But at that moment, the protagonist finds a chance. His father was careless. He got up and grabbed a sharp glass. That was the moment he had always been looking for. His father's guard was down and he prepared and lunged towards him. He was going to finish him off now in this careless state, obtain the key and escape from this place. The boy approached and smiled, saying the plan worked. It was just that piece of glass touching his father and he was about to reach it. However, there was a flaw in his plan. The father remained still, and he knew that man was not someone who would let his guard down like that. At the moment, the sharp was about to touch him. The father suddenly turned around. The protagonist was startled, and his father's entire body had already turned. Even so, he didn't hesitate and went for the attack, but the father easily dodged. The plan had failed. The father spun around and kicked him in the face. With that, the protagonist blacked out. Sometime later, he woke up in his room. Before he could say anything the father said, he finally woke up and noted that it was a great attempt. That attack had been very good. However, he had already warned him that he shouldn't be using any weapons or the training meant nothing. And the penalty for trying to use that would be double training for now. He closed the room door and told him to rest because tomorrow would be a very tough day. With that, the father left. And the protagonist says there is something his father doesn't know. As soon as he turns off a light, the electricity in the room is cut for a few seconds. At that moment, if he focuses his hearing, he can hear things he had never heard before, things that are extremely distant. The sound of things spinning, the sound of birds singing, even a bustling city. Because of this, he discovered two truths. The father says his time is, but in reality, stay time outside. And the other truth is that the world is completely peaceful. The father traps him there because of the so-called apocalypse, but he will break free from it, no matter what happens, and thus find his mother. Every time he asks his father about her, he says she is dead. However, he already knows that his father always lies. This means that in reality, she is alive. He lies down saying that one day, he will escape from there and find her, no matter what happens. The father was walking through the corridors, laughing like a madman alone, until suddenly he received a call. His expression changed and he answered, saying that he had told them not to call unless it was an emergency, while the protagonist slept here at something. The call seemed to be serious and he said that it was fine, he would let him live. With that, the phone fell to the ground and the father knelt down crying. After a while, he started laughing while the protagonist was waking up. The father seemed out of his mind, laughing like a lunatic in the corner of the room. The protagonist felt that something was wrong and asked what it was. That was when he noticed he was tied to a chair. He asked what his father was doing and told him to untie him. However, he soon realized that his father didn't seem to be listening. He knew he would have to free himself from those ropes slowly. He started rubbing them together, applying pressure, and they began to break. He was confident until his father appeared in front of him and told him to stop that. The protagonist felt something strange, swallowed hard, and asked his father when they were going to start the supposed training that would be twice as hard. The father only said that plans had changed and they wouldn't be doing any of that today. In fact, they wouldn't be doing anything anymore and the boy would just stay in that chair. The protagonist asked what he was talking about, reminding him that he said he was being trained for the apocalypse. The father said the training was over. Now the boy had no idea why his father had changed so much, and the worst part was that he couldn't fight back if he was tied up. He started to wonder if he would really be unable to see his mother. Angrily, he resumed forcing the ropes and the father asked what he thought he was doing. He ignored him and continued applying pressure and the ropes began to break. The father approached almost slack-jawed and started laughing in his face, seeming to have transformed. Suddenly, he felt something hit him in the face. The chair